Black like me. Black like me. Black like me.
You're listening to Black Like Me with Dr. Alex G., a podcast that invites you to experience the world through the perspective of one black man, one conversation, one story, or even one rant at a time. Here's Dr. G.
All right. Hey, good people. I want to welcome you back to another exciting episode of Black Like Me with Dr. Alex G. Listen, we are just moseying through season 11, and I'm having great conversations. We're over in the 200s. We have actually 200 plus episodes up and posted. And so if you joined me recently in your downtime, if you have any of that, you might want to catch up by listening to some of the previous seasons. But if not, just thank you for keeping up with us right here. You know, each time I come on, I make you this promise to give you my word that we're going to have these fun and scintillating discussions with exciting people from around the country, even the world, and talking about how we navigate space and life and education and family and success while being Black. And so today is no different. I'm inviting someone into the studio who is no stranger to the studio. He's been here for a number of times. He's helped me out in a number of ways. Dr. Christopher K. Bass. I met Chris and his wife Roz when they were completing their degrees here in Wisconsin at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Roz was in medical school and Chris was getting his PhD in psychology. And we connected, went to conferences together, became fast friends. He was second chair on my dissertation committee, one of the first people to ever call me Dr. G. Our kids, our firstborn, came into the world like around the same weekend at St. Mary's Hospital in late 1996. And it's just been a joy to do life together. And since I've spoken with him last, he has something new to add to his resume or his impressive list of accomplishments. He is the Dean of Arts and Sciences at Clark Atlanta University. And so, man, congratulations on that. How are you doing, Dean Bass?
You know what? Today is a wonderful day, and thank you for that. I'm blessed to be here with you.
Oh, man.
Dr.
Listen,
G.
Come on. I guess they got tired of you winning those Faculty of the Year awards each semester, so they put you, I guess once you rack up about 13 or 14 of those, they make you dean, huh?
I guess so.
Yeah,
I guess so.
They want to teach you that stuff. I mean, they want you to teach that stuff to the other faculty. Now, is there a new development? Have they now named the award after you, Dr. Bass?
They have. They have named the award the Dr. Christopher K. Bass Professor of the Year Award. So I could no longer win it.
I guess they showed you, huh? That is
Yeah,
fantastic.
they sure did.
Man, that is so fantastic. Listen, thank you for taking time today. I just want to jump into a couple of things because, you're an administrator, at your university and you're overseeing faculty. But, when I need to talk to someone because things are on my mind, you're still one of the therapists that I like to talk to. So I'm glad that you have not escaped that space, that you're willing to still talk to people like myself who are just dealing with life, man.
Absolutely. Psychology and therapy is my first love. So, anytime I get an opportunity to put that coat on and take this hat off, I run for it.
That's so good. That is really good, man. I just wanted to, when I have you on the show, I like to just, sort of lay down on the sofa and just take advantage of some of that insight. And so the first thing I'm just going to jump in with, man, is that it's been about a year and a few months since my mom has passed. And, even though we knew that was coming, Dr. Bass, and I was her caregiver for about 11 years before that took place, I didn't know that I was going to feel so untethered and off for so long. I feel like whatever the new norm is, I'm coming into it, but I had no idea it would take that long to adjust to something that we all knew was somewhat inevitable.
Absolutely. A lot of times we base our world on what we believe life is going to feel like later on after the thing that we are most concerned about.
Mm-hmm.
And we create all of these scenarios about how we're going to get through it and how we're going to continue to move and how we're going to feel without certain people being in our lives. But nothing can prepare us truly for what that experience is like. Not even in our own minds and our own fantasies. Nothing can prepare us for it.
Yeah.
So when you talked about the new world, a new reality, you're creating it every single day.
Man, that's a good way of looking at it. So I can't follow other people's paths. I gotta take, I've gotta take it in my own stride
Hmm.
and let it be its own course. I also think that because we found out that mom was sick in 2011, I put a lot of mourning off because it's not a quick goodbye. It's not like a car accident that takes a loved one away. You watch them
Hmm.
change. You watch the demise. And my mom was such a brilliant person, so to see an attack on her mind felt like cruel and unusual punishment. But I think, man, I banked all of the mourning and all the sadness because I wanted to be present and I wanted to
Hmm.
enjoy the time that I had. And I don't regret doing it that way, but that helps me to think about what might, why the impact is what it is, because some of this is catching up with me because during the process, I don't think I stopped to mourn.
Right, right. You're like a good number of people who experience the slow transition. They don't want to start grieving because they don't want to miss out on the time
Right,
that they
right.
have. And when that time comes, then all of the emotions, all of the grief, all of the angst that they've been holding on to or sitting down with because they didn't want to experience that with their loved one,
Right.
they end up doing it without their loved one.
Yeah, man, you went to church here, so I love preaching. Like that's where I get energized. That's where I give my, get my insight, I love connecting with the folks. But
Mhm.
Dr. Bass, I think I preached 12 times last year. I mean, there's 52
12
Sundays in a
times.
year. I think 12 times because mom passed on the 1st of January. And so I didn't really come back to preach until Palm Sunday because I didn't
Mm.
want Easter to be a shock, my first time being back. And then
Hmm.
I came back a little bit maybe in April and May, something in June. But then I took vacation like I do in the summer. So my team stepped up in a fantastic manner to give me the space. But I never imagined that I'd live in a world where I'd only preach 12 times at home. But man, my heart needed that. My soul needed that just to rest. And I didn't want to bleed on the troops. I didn't want my preaching to be, how I was coming through this. Plus, the other part of it
Hmm.
was I didn't want to do that publicly. There's some things I do publicly, but it was such a
Hmm.
deep mourning that I was really grateful that I got to step away from that public life. I'm still doing things publicly where I'm talking more about projects that I'm working on. But when
Hmm.
you're in the pulpit, you want to talk about what's currently painful, and that would have obviously been the situation with mom. So I think I get some cool points for giving myself space to really mourn and step away like I did, and cool points to my team that completely covered me for those 40 odd weeks. I was completely out.
Well, if I started to count the number of cool points that I would give you in this very moment based on what you just said, we would run out of hands to hold the points, run out of boards to hold the points. I mean,
Man,
someone in a pastoral position, many people will come and look to that person as the relief, as someone to provide guidance, as
exactly.
someone to provide the support. So that's what I found. A good number of my pastor friends, they typically find themselves alone in many cases dealing with
Mm,
the life events, because who do you go to?
right,
And
right.
and if people are, really expecting you to be there for them, you can't show the congregation the depth of your grief and your pain, because then what does that say? That says that all of those times where you told them to trust God,
I have to practice what I preach.
you have to practice what you preach, right? So I'm so happy to hear that you took that time for yourself. And I'm so happy that you have the greatest team in the world who will
Yes,
come and support you the way in which they did. And also, Dr. G, turning over the reins and
yeah,
trusting people
yes.
is also a huge point earner.
Yes, man. And it's a team that I've trained, that I've worked with, but I wasn't expecting them to have to step into that space
Hmm.
so quickly. But they did it so adequately. And in our culture, in Black church culture, we like our preachers, we like our styles, we have our people that we like. But I basically told the congregation, this is my team, and these are the people that I'm leading with. And if you're coming just to hear me, then you're not a true parishioner, and I'm not really your pastor. I'm your savior, and you're dead
Mm.
weight. And so if you
Hmm.
can't get with the team, because the Spirit can speak through all of us, then we can't build with you anyway. So I completely freed myself from the guilt that, well, they're going to leave or they're going to turn. I realized if they don't understand what I'm going through, if they
Hmm.
know anything about me, they would know I'm a serious mama's boy. And if they
Hmm.
just so if they don't get what I'm doing and they need a certain style, then that's what the internet is for. They can watch Jake's or Jamal down there, but I need space to make sure that I'm around longer. So, man, thanks um, that affirmation. And I also found that in the resting, I found the energy to focus on things that I knew would make mom proud. Like I
Hmm.
know she would not want me to pull back from the work of the center. I mean, a place where
Hmm.
we're going to be, where we are claiming to be the center of Black life in the state of Wisconsin. I mean, how audacious is that? Not just Madison, but the state of Wisconsin,
Mm.
and theaters and Black box space in there, and Black lounge. We call Club Afrique, um,
Wow.
and yeah, we have a liquor license. I don't know how much Mama would have liked that, but we have a liquor license in there. It's just innovation space, maker space, senior space, a
Mm.
library. But it's interesting. As I pull back, I found the energy, not just to raise money, but the energy to cast vision. Because if the vision is cast appropriately, money will come. But I also had the
Absolutely.
energy to cast vision. So while I was pulling back in mourning, I felt that what motivated me to get up and go to work, for the other jobs I have, that doesn't require that I divulge what I'm going through personally. I felt a lot of wind at my back, man. So I felt the ability to get things done in a manner that has never been done in this community before. So I'm really grateful for that too.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to come back. I'm excited to see, all of this wonderful space. I'm excited to do it. But I have to say something. This is my therapist coat coming back on.
Okay.
It's okay. We're not gonna go too deep.
Yeah. I got
We're
my
gonna go
I
too
got my
deep.
Kleenex right here. Go
You got
ahead.
your Kleenex. One of the tools that we are taught, when helping people to process through grief and loss, is the creation of something. That's one of the
Wow.
biggest pieces of advice that we give, to create something, whether that's planting something in the yard, planting a tree, or planting a set of flowers that when, the wind blows, you can smell, the scent, on Mother's Day, things like that. Um, that wind that you just described goes right along with this creation of things to honor your mom.
I love it.
So
I
she
love it.
lives, she lives within every brick. She lives within every story. She lives within every piece that will come out of this center, because you're pouring her into this place.
Oh
So God
man.
bless you.
Man, Chris, that is so. Listen, we can end the podcast right there. I got my message. I got my message. That's a mic drop, Dean. That's a mic drop. Man, thank you for. Hey, let me just say another thing that I want to say, just in honoring mom. I don't think I've mentioned this to you. Is I don't think we talked since this time, but she loved UW Madison. That's what got her. She came here and reinvented herself after a very abusive marriage to my father. But UW Madison conferred an honorary doctorate degree on me last year in humane letters, and
Hmm.
recently hired me as an adjunct in African American history department. So I'm teaching my own class, rebuilding Black societies using cultural, social, and innovative strategies for the Black communities. And so I get to use Nehemiah and the center as a case study. And so,
Incredible.
in furthering that concept of creating things, I get to go back to the campus where mom was one of the inaugural students. Afro Am started in '70. She enrolled in '71. And I get to teach.
Wow.
I get to teach in that department, and it's their 55th anniversary, and I'm the keynote this fall. So,
Mm.
so that creative stuff is still happening, man. So thank you for putting language on it. That's why it feels so good to me. I feel close to her when I'm down there at Helen C. White or walking around walking up Bascom Hill. So thank you for that.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
You know, man,
And it's not by accident.
no, it's not. No, it's not. One, they don't do that lightly. And
Mm-mm.
I was the only one who had the honorary degree conferred upon them. And on the night where they honored the doctoral candidates, I was the keynote speaker at the commencement speaker, and I didn't even know that I was going to be the only one. But I also got to speak at commencement. So, man, a lot of good things are happening, Chris. And so,
Amen.
and yeah, man, that's so great. Listen, let me just shift to some things that I've been noticing in society.
Okay.
I'm not going to harp on Trump per se, but I remember when we were going to schedule something earlier. I think it was right after the election, and you said, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
man, I can't get on. There's a whole lot of stuff going
Mm-hmm.
on campus, some unrest." And I get it with all of this stuff, this sense of like we just stepped back 75, 80 years. But what's really interesting to me is these are horrible times, and I won't downplay that. But
Mm-hmm.
black people seem to have this resolve that this too shall pass. We've been through rough times. We felt this way with a number of other people. But one of my white colleagues, we've worked together for a number of years, but he made this comment that for the first time in his life, as a white male, he's never felt as if the U.S. government was looking out for his best interest. And I don't mean in a white privilege kind of way. Maybe that is a subtext. But he said he never questioned if the government had his best interest, at heart. And he says now he doesn't feel that, he doesn't think that, he doesn't believe that. And so I find myself as a pastor of a multicultural congregation where black people are almost living out this scene that you see on Instagram where there's a split screen and a white woman is lamenting how Trump's policies are causing her to lose her job and she voted for him. And the other screen is a black woman eating popcorn like she's at the movie like, I told you.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to tell you all. And so I'm curious, are you seeing that type of dichotomy in response to that we're all running for the hills because it's some crazy times, but it's really impacting white people differently than black folks because in all that's happened in the world, many of them have always assumed that the government had their backs. And this is the first time that they felt like black people.
Interesting that you would say that. Yes, and because I'm down here in Georgia, we're seeing a whole lot of popcorn eating. There's so many policies that are now being put in
They
place.
putting hot sauce. They putting hot sauce on the
Hot
popcorn and
sauce and,
eat.
and lemon pepper, on the popcorn. It's exactly. It's something else. And I've seen with my colleagues this fear. And to your colleague's point, they don't feel like the government has their best interest at heart for the
Right,
first time in their lives.
right.
And it's interesting to say the least. Interesting to say the
Yes,
least.
yes.
I've seen more anxiety come across this nation, especially those who live in the South,
Yeah, I've wondered about
who
that.
people who don't have the necessary means. So we're talking about people who are not at the poverty line, but not quite middle class
Right,
either.
right.
What happens to the world that they know, that they counted on? With many of these policies going back toward the states, then programs that really helped me and my family, are now being removed. See, here's the big piece. So many times, because they put this black face on things like welfare, and they put this black face on things like DEI,
Come on now.
what we're learning is that the people who typically benefited more wasn't the black face that they were promoted to be. So many of these folks are really feeling that pinch.
Wow, wow. Yeah, it feels like someone's pulled back this proverbial curtain like you see in Wizard of Oz. Someone's pulling back that green curtain because we've heard about how white women have benefited greatly, if not the most, out
Hmm.
of civil rights and DEI. I've got a
Hmm.
friend that's going through some struggle right now at a major university because they're talking about his DEI work, and he's funding rural white students from Wisconsin. Who thought
Hmm.
that DEI programs were going to cover rural white students from farming communities? And so, yeah, when they start pulling this back, there's going to be a lot
Hmm.
more popcorn eating because people are going to realize We thought this was going to hurt y'all and not us, and we're good.
Right. Exactly. Because to your point that you made earlier, there's a resilience that we've come to understand and know.
Right.
So while there may be some concern for the wide majority of the people who I've worked with, whether through therapy or through education, there is this belief that we are going to be
Right.
okay.
Right.
We're going to make it through this because we've been through this
We've
before,
been
or
through
even
this before.
worse.
Exactly. Man, that's so interesting. Um, how something can be so familiar to us, but so different than others to others. I think when during Trump's first presidency, maybe my white colleagues feared what that choice would mean to people of color or their friends who are more disenfranchised. With this
Mhm.
time around, they're seeing what it's doing to federal workers, state
Yes.
workers, and it's a
Mhm.
different kind of fear. Again, not trying to be repetitive, but we know how to live through that. We know how to double down. We know how to make gravy, and I mean, we know how to do those things.
Mhm.
But I think what my friend was trying to say was, this is the first time he questioned the American dream, and
Yes.
that's not our first rodeo.
No.
Man, oh man, is it crazy out here. And I don't think it's just me. Look, it's 2025. Trump is back in office, and some days it seems as if the sky is falling. There's so much uncertainty in the world right now, but I love that sitting down right here in front of this mic and letting the hard truths rumble out of my heart and off my chest is as certain as it ever was. Season 11 is gathering steam, and you're in for a real treat. Let me just tell you. When I reflect back on all of the seasons that we dropped here at Black Like Me podcast, each of them has had a special purpose, a one-of-a-kind lineup of guests, and its own unique feel. I also think about the thread that binds them all together. What we do here at Black Like Me is unique. I don't have another space that feels just like this, where I can really speak from my unique perspective. And the guests who have on the show remark that these interviews they do here are unlike any others that they've done in other places. Sure, nobody else does Black Icebreakers, but that's only part of it. We have created a truly unique space here where honest conversations about the thoughts, the ideas, the policies that affect Black people and that Black people care deeply about. And you know what? It isn't easy. And I don't do this all alone. I have an incredible team that has steadily grown over the years, and each person that joins adds another asset to what we can do here. And all of you that support us on Patreon, my people, my people, my people. We simply would not be able to do what we do or get what we have gotten without you. So as we look to even bigger and better things in the coming season, please help support the show right now by clicking the link to Patreon in the show notes and join the community of people supporting this unique and provocative space. In the world that we're living in, where there's so much attack on our perspectives, our history, our bodies, and our lives and contributions, aren't you glad you have a place where you can still hear powerful, exhilarating, intellectual Black thought like you do? I enjoy it. And so if you do too, share the good news, tell friends, click that Patreon link now. Thank you so much for your support of Black Like Me podcast with Dr. Alex G.
No, I think that there's been a consistent questioning of the American dream, for many people, because of course the American dream has been always pointed to as the house with the picket fence and,
Right.
the marriage with the 2.2 kids or what have you. It's not that same dream that's becoming available to all people now with all of these major cuts. So we go beyond the discussion of DEI and we talk about things like the education department,
Right.
which is impacting so many people. I learned just the other day that was it Columbia University, where my daughter earned her master's degree. They lost in upwards of $80 million
Are you
within one
serious?
day. Yeah, because of policies that are being created. Now, these policies and that money doesn't just impact people with a certain hue,
Right.
that impacts everybody. And that's just one institution that I talked about.
And that
So,
impacts the
so
communities too,
many. Yes,
and the economy.
absolutely. And the economy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, Dr. Bass, another thing that I wrestle with, and no one really prepared me for this, but in getting older, having worked, gotten graduate, done graduate work, bought a home, all the things you're supposed to do to be successful. I pay taxes. No one really prepared me for the sandwich generation, where
Mm,
my daughter's coming of age or came of age, but just as Lexi was moving into college life and getting comfortable, mom's diagnosis came. So Lexi's coming out of
mm,
high school and moving into her own apartment, and then I'm helping her look for places, but I'm also looking for senior places for mom because
mhm.
of Alzheimer's. And it was when her safety was questioned, because we kept her in her home as long as we could. And between raising tens of millions of dollars and making sure my mom had the right kind of care and going to every appointment, being there for Jackie and Lexi and Laleda and others in the community, I often find um, that I've not always managed or budgeted enough time for self care.
Mm,
Usually, I would take 6 weeks off during the summer. I save up all my vacation and I take off from like the 4th of July to Labor Day.
mhm.
But when we got into deep fundraising season 3 years ago, I couldn't be out of pocket for 6 weeks. And so I was gone for 2 of those weeks. And so I'm just curious, have you done work with particularly black men who are sort of in that sandwich scenario, sandwich between their parents and their children? And is there any wisdom that you have for me to make sure that I leave enough in the tank for myself?
I'm glad that you asked that. We both belong to a powerful organization, that we proclaim is the greatest organization from a fraternal standpoint that ever existed. That
Right,
one
right.
is
And you
Alpha
know
Phi
it.
Alpha
You know it
Fraternity.
is. You know it is.
Yeah, I know it is Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I'm also a Mason. So going through the different levels of Masonry and being pulled to do that type of work in the community. Also organizations like 100 Black Men and organizations like Let Us Make Man, which is near and dear to my heart. There's so many different organizations that Black men get into to serve our communities. But what we find at the end of the day, Dr. G, is that with all of the work that we're doing for our community, with all of the work that we're doing just to bring bread and put it on the table, we find that we don't have that time for ourselves, that we
Right.
could really just distress. We don't have it. So if there's any advice that I can give to you and to your listeners is they said this thing that really just stays in my mind. They said that 24 hours after you pass, you know, there's somebody else who's going to be put in your position. You know, your family will grieve you and they will remember you, but they will start to make plans for what's going on next in their day, in their life, in their world.
Of course.
Right. So life continues to move. But if you take yourself out of it by serving the world and not serving yourself, then you won't be here to enjoy it. So
Uh,
you have to create those 4 weeks that you just talked about. You have to take care of yourself and work as if you're working for the Lord. We agree to that.
right.
But you also have to include yourself in that work. What are you doing to work on yourself? How are you earning the rest that you deserve and you need? Because I'll tell you, as a psychologist, the more rest that you get, the longer you can sustain yourself in the stress. The longer you can beat off the stress, the longer you can deal with the stress, the anxiety, the depression, and everything else that comes with this world, the longer you'll be here.
That's
You know?
counterintuitive, but I believe what you're saying.
Yeah, everything is created in the mind.
Mm.
And if you don't give the mind enough time to rest, it'll create its own scenarios. It'll
Yes.
create its own
Yes.
conclusions.
Yes.
And unfortunately, many of us don't survive off of those conclusions that the mind creates. Listen, I have a friend who's at Emory Hospital right now. His name is Eric Lamb. He's my age. He graduated from Clark Atlanta University, same time that I did.
Mm-hmm.
He just had a stroke, last week, complete paralyzation on his left side.
Oh my gosh.
And the biggest thing that he talks about now is the stress that he never dealt with. So I'm sending out a message to all of the
I hear you.
brothers.
I hear you.
Take care of yourself before
Right.
it takes care of you.
Right. Because, this stress is real for everyone in our country. I think where it double down on us, is in my work as white colleagues are coming to the light and realizing that they've been duped and that what we've said about history has been true. They want help and support and a place for sounding off and trying to process this, because what my white colleagues are understanding is you and black men like you have been navigating this for as long as you've been in the country. Let's at least say since the end of slavery. This is the
Mhm.
first time we thought we've had to navigate it. Can you give us some pointers? And so not only do I feel the need to respond and build leaders in our community and build space where we can help black people retreat,
Mhm.
through spaces we have and a huge 60-foot porch where we can sit outside on a deck and
Wow.
and
Wow.
have a glass of wine and look out over the belt line.
Yes.
I'm also realizing that many of my congregants don't look like me,
Mhm.
and they're trying to figure this out too. Now I'm referring them to other influencers in our congregation who are white, who I think can speak things in a way that they need to. I think people need to talk and process that among themselves too. But
Mhm.
all of that to say, I'm noticing how the world is hitting black people that I love, but white people that I love, and non-black people and non-white people that I love, and I'm realizing I can't necessarily be that guru or that great person with insight with every community or every group, because I've got to build in the time to do stuff. So I'll create a podcast like this where I can voice my perspective and people can lean in and learn from it, but I
Mhm.
can't do the same type of cross-cultural coaching that I used to do because there's so much that's going on. And then I need to make sure I'm finishing well. Jackie's finishing well.
Right.
My mother-in-law is finishing well, who's
Mhm.
now, struggling with memory issues. And then my daughter's um, doing well. So there's probably greater success in my path, but way more stress than I've had at any point in my life. In
Hmm.
some ways, Dr. Bass, struggling and not having money to do ministry in Nehemiah
Mhm.
was one level of stress. Raising almost $31 million, and then now being asked, okay, perform it. You said you want to do this. You got this vision. You built it. Now let's see it materialize. Let's see the programming materialize. Sometimes the opportunities for success feels a little bit more stressful than navigating elongated periods of struggle. So I just think the
Yes.
success I'm experiencing brings um, some stress as well, and I've got to keep that in mind as I'm taking care of myself.
Absolutely. Let me tell you what I would always tell my clients is the strongest word is no. The strongest word that you can have in your vocabulary is no. But here's the thing. It's not saying no to people who ask you for things. Sometimes you have to tell yourself no.
Yourself, no, yeah, yes,
Yeah, I have to do, I must do, or I will fail, or I won't be successful, or I won't achieve. You have to tell yourself no, and you have to quiet those voices because we all talk to ourselves.
right,
Okay, let's keep it real. We all
right,
talk to ourselves. You have to quiet those voices that are sabotaging you. So the biggest thing that you could do is learn, and use the word no. Not
mm,
today. I'm going to rest today. No, not today. I'm going to spend time with just myself and, you know, a glass of wine today.
right.
I'm going to say no because I just want to envision me sitting on that porch, today. No, because I want to plant that flower outside. No, but the word no.
Right, right. Black men are often overlooked for so many reasons or undervalued in our community. But once you
Hmm.
prove you can deliver, everybody and their mama wants you. So it's interesting. there's such an interest in my participating in other boards, other organizations, advising people, and you've helped me to develop language and good rationale for drawing the line and saying no because of the things I've got to wrap up, the things I've got to fix, things I got to plant, trips I got to take, vacation I got to take with
Yes.
Jackie. So I really appreciate you sharing that because I think part of the stress of this current reality is that somehow I need to do more than I can actually do or be more than I'm actually built to be. And I need to stay in my lane and not become intoxicated or inebriated by my own success by thinking, well, let me try it over here in this market. Let me just sit with this for a little bit and shape it and watch it grow. So I'm telling you, you dropped some real nuggets on me. I bring you on the show under the guise that I want to show off my friends who are deans and psychologists. But what I really want to do is just get an on-air consultation so I can adjust my head and my heart so I can keep doing this work.
Well, nothing happens by accident, my brother.
Man. So, man, listen, I appreciate it so much. Listen, I know that as dean, you got to go put out some fires or maybe even start some fires. But I always appreciate you, man, and your mind and your heart and your push and your insight. And I know you have your own life, but I appreciate the way you always make yourself present for me and available to others. And it means a lot. And people who are listening are learning and experiencing some goodness vicariously. So I appreciate this so much.
Absolutely. The honor is mine. Always has been, always will be.
Yes. And listen, I'm serious when I said I wrote you a couple of days ago or weeks. I said, hey, man, I need a couple of days to get away. I need to just get over all of that guilt. Jackie gives me the license to get up and get out of here. I need to come down to Atlanta and have some good Southern food and hang out with you and some good Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated brothers and have some fun.
Yes.
So just know I hope to do that, man, in the next few months to check your schedule and hang out for a day or so, a part of a day even.
Whenever you come, I will clear my schedule out to make sure that we're there.
All right, man. All right, Chris, please say hello to Ross and the family. I appreciate you and keep up the great work that you're doing down there at Clark Atlanta University.
Thank you, my good friend and brother.
I'm really grateful that you tuned in to today's episode. Wait a minute. Am I showing my age? Do you really tune in on a podcast? Hey, I'm going to act like I'm 61. Thank you for tuning in today, folks. A couple things I want you to do and know. One, would you please check out our new public-facing group on Facebook? You can come and join the conversation or just take a look at what others are talking about. But it's a way of keeping the information pertinent and relevant throughout the week. I also want to thank my wonderful team who helps me to bring these great podcast episodes to you. Eli Steenlich and Jeremy Holliday, who produce and edit the show. Don Thornton, who secures our great guests. Ariana Proctor, who curates and moderates our listener space. Ariana joined our team through a project created in conjunction with the Public Humanities Exchange at UW-Madison's Center for the Humanities. We are so grateful for their wonderful collaboration. And Jakisha Hunt, who handles our wonderful merch. And lastly, please support the podcast by kicking. And lastly, please support the podcast by clicking the Patreon link in the show notes. Your support, your generosity at any level helps to maintain the excellence and the quality of this podcast. And we want to continue bringing this to you. Thank all of you for being listeners, for caring about what we're talking about. Lean in, share this with someone that you know, repost it, write a review, but do something with this information and don't just merely listen, but lean in and become a part of the change that we all want to see in the world. Have a great day.
Black like me. Black like me.
I want to thank you for taking time to listen to this episode of Black Like Me podcast with Dr. Alex G. If you like that opening track of our theme song, you can show your appreciation to Corey Saffold, who created that and produced it, and Marcus Fleming, my cousin, who's on vocals. I also want to say that this podcast was started with the generous support of the Human Family Unity Foundation, and so we always want to stop and thank them for that. For the many patrons who support us through our Patreon page, thank you, thank you, thank you. You don't just listen, but you support, you lean in, and you help this podcast to be what it is. And then I need to thank you, the listeners, who make a point of downloading this, listening to it, and sharing it. Without all of you, this podcast would not be what it is and what it's becoming. Thank you so much.